Have you ever found yourself wondering if someone secretly has feelings for you? Maybe there's that one person who always seems a bit more attentive, a bit more interested in what you're doing, but they haven't come right out and said how they feel. It can be frustrating, right? We've all been there, trying to decipher those subtle signals, asking ourselves, are they really into me, or am I just imagining things? Well, today, we're going to uncover the truth behind those little hints and behaviors. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 powerful signs that someone is falling in love with you, even if they haven't admitted it yet. By the end of this video, you'll have a much clearer idea of what's going on in their heart, and who knows? You might just realize that someone very special has been quietly loving you all along. So let's dive right in with the first sign, copying your moves. Now, I know this might sound a bit strange at first. You might be thinking, why would someone copying me mean they have feelings for me? But stick with me here, because this one is actually rooted in some pretty interesting psychology. You see, when someone likes you, they often start to subconsciously mirror your behavior. It's not something they do on purpose, but it's a natural way for them to create a connection with you. Let me break this down a bit more. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and noticed that they start to adopt your body language? Maybe you cross your arms, and a few seconds later, they do the same. Or perhaps you're telling a story and using a particular phrase, and then you notice that they start using that phrase too. This kind of mimicry is a sign that they're really tuned into you. It's almost like their mind is saying, I want to be like this person. I want to connect with them on a deeper level. And this isn't just a random quirk, it's actually a well-documented phenomenon known as the Chameleon Effect. The Chameleon Effect refers to the tendency for people to unconsciously mimic the gestures, speech patterns, or attitudes of the people they're interacting with. This happens because humans are naturally social creatures, and one of the ways we build rapport with others is by aligning ourselves with them, both verbally and non-verbally. So, when someone starts copying your moves, it's a sign that they're trying to get on your wavelength, to create a sense of similarity and closeness. But why does this happen more when someone has romantic feelings for you? Well, it all comes down to the desire to bond. When someone is falling for you, they want to feel closer to you, and one way they do that is by adopting your behaviors. It's like their subconscious mind is saying, if I act like them, maybe they'll feel closer to me too. So, the next time you notice someone mirroring your actions or speech, don't just brush it off as a coincidence. Take it as a sign that they might be feeling something deeper for you. Let's move on to the second sign, serious eye contact. Now, this one is huge. Eye contact is one of the most powerful forms of nonverbal communication, and it can reveal a lot about what someone is feeling, even when they're not saying anything out loud. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and felt like they were looking into your soul? That's the kind of eye contact we're talking about here, the kind that feels intense, maybe even a little bit overwhelming. When someone holds your gaze for longer than usual, it's often because they feel a deep connection with you. They're not just looking at you, they're trying to communicate something without words. This kind of eye contact can be a sign that they're feeling something very real for you, something that goes beyond just friendship. Let's talk about why eye contact is so important. Our eyes are often called the windows to the soul for a reason. They're incredibly expressive, and they can convey emotions that we might not be ready to say out loud. When someone is falling in love, they might not be ready to voice their feelings, but their eyes can give them away. Prolonged eye contact can create a sense of intimacy and connection that words can't always achieve. It's a way of saying, I see you, and I'm interested in you without actually saying those words. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if this eye contact is really a sign of love, or if they're just being polite? Great question. There's a difference between polite eye contact and the kind that signals deeper feelings. Polite eye contact is more fleeting. It's the kind you use in everyday conversations to show that you're paying attention. But when someone has romantic feelings for you, their eye contact will be different. It will linger a little longer, and you might notice that they're looking at you with a softness or warmth that's hard to describe but impossible to miss. There's also something to be said about the timing of this eye contact. If you catch someone looking at you when they think you're not paying attention, that's a strong sign that they're thinking about you, even when you're not in a direct conversation. This kind of stolen glance is often a sign that they're trying to figure out their feelings for you or that they're just admiring you from afar. But what about the intensity of this eye contact? Well, when someone is in love, their eyes will often light up when they see you. You might notice that their pupils dilate slightly, which is a natural response when someone is attracted to you. This kind of eye contact can make you feel seen in a way that's both exciting and a little bit nerve-wracking. It's like they're trying to tell you something with their eyes that they're not quite ready to say out loud. So, the next time you find yourself locked in an intense gaze with someone, pay attention to what's happening. Are they looking at you with warmth and interest? Do their eyes seem to linger on yours a little longer than usual? If so, it might be their way of saying, "I'm falling for you," without having to utter a single word. Now, let's talk about the third sign, hot and cold communication. This one can be a bit tricky to interpret because it can feel like the person is sending mixed signals. One day they're super attentive, texting you all the time, wanting to hang out, and making you feel like you're the center of their world. But then, out of nowhere, they pull back. Maybe they stop responding as quickly, or they seem a bit distant, like they're not as interested anymore. It's confusing, right? But here's the thing. This hot and cold behavior often means that they're struggling with their feelings. When someone has strong feelings for you, it can be overwhelming for them, especially if they're not sure how you feel in return. They might be afraid of getting hurt, or they might be unsure about how to navigate these new emotions. So, they go back and forth between wanting to be close to you and pulling away to protect themselves. This back and forth behavior can be frustrating, but it's also a sign that they're deeply invested in you. Let's break this down a bit more. When someone is feeling vulnerable, they might try to protect themselves by creating some distance. This isn't because they don't care. It's actually because they care so much that the thought of getting hurt is terrifying. So, they might pull back as a way of safeguarding their emotions. But then, when they realize that they miss you or that they can't stop thinking about you, they come back, sometimes with even more intensity than before. This hot and cold communication can also be a sign that they're testing the waters. They might pull back to see how you'll react, to see if you'll reach out to them or if you'll miss them when they're not as present. It's a way for them to gauge your feelings without having to directly ask you. They might not even be doing this consciously, but it's a way of trying to figure out where they stand with you. So, how should you respond to this kind of behavior? It's important to stay patient and not jump to conclusions. Just because someone pulls back doesn't mean they're losing interest, it might actually mean the opposite. They could be grappling with their own emotions and trying to figure out how to move forward. The key is to communicate openly and honestly. If you're noticing this hot and cold pattern, it might be worth having a conversation with them to understand what's going on. One thing to keep in mind is that everyone expresses love differently. Some people are more straightforward and open about their feelings, while others might be more reserved or cautious. Hot and cold behavior doesn't necessarily mean that the person is playing games with you. It could just be a reflection of their own emotional journey. If you care about this person and want to understand them better, try to approach the situation with empathy and curiosity rather than frustration. In conclusion, understanding the signs of love can be a bit of a puzzle, but once you know what to look for, things start to make a lot more sense. Whether it's copying your moves, making intense eye contact, or displaying hot and cold communication, these behaviors can all be clues that someone has deep feelings for you. The key is to pay attention to these subtle signals and